Can I just add something slightly to that? So the thing with that is, at the point of publication, they can get sampled, but you mentioned that your games change every week. So games is incredibly fluid, patched, supported, updated, upgraded.
Absolutely. And this is something actually ratings boards, I imagine, are struggling with, because yeah, we can absolutely, in theory, add a patch to a game that introduces a whole host of nudity and violence, if we so wanted, which would throw off a lot of things. There's a lot of grey areas there. Just something that came to mind when you were talking there about submission, about the idea of, and specifically games companies are submitting. Something that I know, I've got a feeling it's part of what you're doing, it's a question more than anything, is the idea of actually archiving development files and development resources and materials, because this is something that we don't really talk about. It's obviously when you're making a game, especially if you've got a big team of hundreds of people, you generate a lot of data, and that data is fascinating, and concept art, design documentation, code, meeting notes. You can find out exactly the meeting where someone said that the main character of the game should jump. Stuff that's really, really important, really, really good, that we delete the second the game's launched, because we need our servers to be running. We've got this new project coming in, and blah blah blah. And this is something I know Warren Spector talks about the Disney archive, and even that's kind of a bit sporadic in places. It feels like we should be doing that. Games companies should just give over all of our files, all the files that are useful. Obviously, I guess like a time limit to prevent people just stealing our stuff. But I don't know if you,
So my background before I did, I've been working on the game history project. Besides playing games all my life, but my background in the library was that I curated something called the Silicon Valley Archive, which still exists today. We're still working on it quite a bit. And that's primarily material given to us by companies in Silicon Valley. So we have a very large archive, for example, from Apple. We have in fact about 35 different archival collections related to Apple Computer. There's nothing like that going on with the game industry right now. There, in fact, have been a couple of studies in the U.S. of the practices in the game industry, like inside behind the walls, what's going on with the materials that they're, just as you described. The reports on that research are very sad indeed. There are many, many cases of game companies losing their IP, not being able to find things, not being able to wanting to resurrect a series, for example, that's old, and not being able to find their original versions of the game, those kinds of things. So I guess I don't have anything terrifically encouraging to say about that side of it, but it's clearly something that must be worked on. One other thing I'll mention on a project that we're just starting, which has to do with being able to capture disk images from our historical collection. We have a whole bunch of disk images which in a sense are portable, but due to copyright we don't know if we will be able to actually show them to anyone. And so we decided to take the high road and contact publishers to the extent that we can, find out to what degree the game industry in a sense is even interested in allowing their games to be accessible to people, say, over the web, these historical games. Mind you, none of them are more recent than 1993, so we're not talking about things that are going to have a big impact on their business today. I suspect there will be a few enlightened companies that are interested in supporting game industry, but I also am fully expecting that there will be companies that will just say no way. That they're not only are they not interested in game history, but they're probably somewhat hostile to it in the sense that they see this threatening to their business model.
But you'd think that people would get, like they look at, it's what you were saying earlier, is the history is written by the powerful people and it talks about the powerful people. It's like you'd think that, a company with a great heritage would be like, we want to be the only game in the archive, like you'd think that it would be the complete opposite, that people really want their history to be preserved because then they get to be the heroes of the future that people look back at. It's an odd, very short-sighted approach.
Can I answer that? Because this is something that I've been coming across a lot, is people are amazingly suspicious. In the UK Web Archive, we've got lots of different themed collections on all manner of different topics. And in the permissions success rate, I'm ashamed that I've got the lowest rate of permissions granted, because people in the video game industry there seems to be so much suspicion of anyone wanting to collect their stuff.
Like royalty worked this out 1,000 years ago, that you should probably have someone paint a picture of you and you should make sure that's looked after. It's crazy, it's absolutely crazy.
But we need to get over this hurdle, and going back to your point about game historians, I would love it if people wanted to use the resources that we're gathering. That would add a real legitimacy of what we're trying to do, and that might take a while, but people do start questioning, well, why are you collecting these things if people aren't using these things? And it's a bit of a chicken and egg sort of question. But that would be brilliant if we have people coming forward and saying, hey, we want to use this material and doing wonderful things, then that would be great. Because at the moment in the library, the subject area that's my biggest supporter is the social sciences and not history. Now don't get me wrong, I want both departments on board, but the social science curators are getting this, and they're seeing how important video games are. But as far as the kind of history side of things, that they're not quite on board with it yet, and I really do need some people saying, hey, we want to use this, and it would be great if people involved in the industry were willing and supportive of donating materials and giving permission for their websites to be archived.
So probably got time for one more question. Which looks like it's you, your hand up. Maybe it should be come part of normal protocol, so there's a lot of educational courses now that work with games design. Maybe it should actually be part of that curriculum to teach new upcoming games designers and developers to actually incorporate it into their normal business plans.
Yes, I wanted to comment on this because I've just come out of a course which I was teaching on. John did turn up and he just left.
Just as he saw you pick up the mic.
So the reason I know him is because he started a course. He left the industry to start a course, and then I joined him working on that, and that's how we worked together before doing what we're doing now together. And I think one of the great things about John's design of that course, he's missing this. He's missing this. You can tell him I said this later. It was a great course, and one of the great things about it was his appreciation of this issue, and really trying really hard with people who are really excited about getting in the industry, 18, 19, 20, to go, ooh there, slow down, look at this. Look at this. And it's actually incredibly difficult to get those people to do that, because all about games today, all about getting into the industry, not interested in that at all. It takes about 3 years of patient, ooh there, ooh now, ooh, to get them to look at this stuff, and it's really satisfying when you do that.
I would like that to be the last noise that you make. We're going to have to wrap up. A couple of announcements before we thank everybody. There's a couple of announcements to make. So the first one, Henry and I at 2:30 in the ballroom, and we, like I said, we'll be talking a bit more about game reservation and 4 years on of the Video Game Archive, so you should come along and see that. Before then, Mike, Mr. GameCity this year. 12:30 an antenna will be getting the advice he much needs from Brandon Boyer. So you should definitely go along and see that as well. Have some lunch, ask questions, heckle, chat.
We want to open up. It's me getting advice, and then to justify the enormous hassle that GameCity have gone to for that, I'll probably get a couple of questions to ask Brandon as well for you guys. So let's do it. Let's absolutely take advantage of this man.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for getting up so early. And perhaps you could join me in thanking Henry, Mike, Adam and Stella. And you'll be delighted to know, despite the number of times Henry said he's going to put a gun to your head, I have decided to let you all know. So carry on, enjoy the festival, and we'll see you again later.